Constromart Knowledge and Experience Seminar, Volume 5, Number 4. My name is Shosha Latte, and I'm excited to be your moderator for today's session. This morning, we'll be discussing a relevant topic under industry updates. That's Ghana's national water policy, challenges, opportunities, and the path forward. Water is a fundamental resource that impacts every aspect of life. And understanding the policy surrounding it is key to addressing the challenges and the seizing opportunities within this sector. We are privileged to have Mr. Jacob Kwasi Amengor as our speaker today. Mr. Amengor brings a wealth of knowledge and experience in the water and sanitation sector. With a decade of experience, he holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Water and Sanitation from the University of Cape Coast and a Master of Science degree in Civil Engineering with a specialization in Environmental Engineering from the University of Calgary, Canada. Mr. Amengor currently serves as a Water Quality Analyst with the Ghana Water Company Limited and is a dedicated member of the International Water Association. With his deep expertise and commitment to improving water and sanitation systems, Mr. Amengor is well equipped to lead us through today's session. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Mr. Jacob Kwasi Amengor. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Kwasi Amengor.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here with you this morning. It's very early for me, so don't be alarmed when my brain comes to a stop. But I can promise you we have some intellectual discussion here. So I would like us to start by looking at the two water policies that we've had, especially the 2007 one and then the 2024 one that we have currently. So we will look at the differences, what they are talking about. Did it change? Was there any significant change from the 2007 one? Then we can look at the challenges and then the opportunities that they're in. So for the differences, I've categorized it into two. The first one is the context of the policy itself. Then we look at the strategic actions of the policy. Then we look at the implementation arrangements of the policy. Okay, so I'll be asking questions along the line. So if I mention your name, don't be alarmed. Just share your ideas. So with the 2007 policy, when it comes to the policy content, it really emphasized on the importance of integrated water resource management and how it will help us to ensure sustainable development when it comes to the water and sanitation sector. And it also highlighted the role of water in socioeconomic development and environmental sustainability, and focused more on equitable distribution and access to water for all citizens. So if you remember, 2007 was during the Millennium Development Goals. So it was more on how citizens will have access to water, the role that water plays in economic development and all that. So that was the central focus of the policy at that time. When we look at the 2024 policy now, the one that has been just launched, it builds on the principles of the integrated water resource management, but it places a much stronger emphasis on resilience against climate change and variability. And you know that we are in a time where climate change is a very hot topic. we are all experiencing it. The drought, the changes in rainfall pattern and all that. So this policy actually emphasizes on that and how we can rely on integrated water resources management principles to be able to deal with those variabilities that are happening. It also highlights the technological advancements and their role in improving water management. So we've been talking about digitalization in water. We've been talking about smart technologies and all that. So this policy actually place certain kind of premium on what those technologies can help us in achieving our water and sanitation targets. Then also stresses the importance and best practices. Now let's look at the strategic actions of the policy. So in the 2007 one, it prioritized rural water supply and sanitation systems with specific goals for increasing the coverage, especially in the rural areas. It also focused on the community management models and the need for capacity building at local levels. And it also encouraged public-private partnerships to mobilize additional resources for the sector. I believe this part was, I said, to the large extent achieved, because from 2007 till now, the coverage in the rural areas actually went up high. And we can also agree that there are a lot of the water and sanitation systems in the rural areas that are based on a community management model. So in a nutshell, I would say that we were able to carry out that strategy. Then in the 2024 policy, it emphasizes the need for professionalized management of water systems and moving away from purely community managed models. Because if you agree with me, the community managed model has not really worked well, because I think it's the approach with which it was carried out. Some of the community leaders still believe that those that built the systems are the ones that are supposed to manage it. So you realize that there are a lot of these community managed systems that have broken down, and then the community members are actually waiting on the people that built it to be the ones that come and maintain it. So we still have quite a challenge with that. And the policy looked at it from the point that if professionals, or let me say trained people, are made to be the ones that manage these community water systems or sanitation systems, then it should be able to serve them well. So that is one of the things that the 2024 policy looks at. And then the second thing is that it places a strong focus on sustainable financing mechanisms, including increased public sector funding and leveraging private investments. I think the private-public partnership system has not really worked well, because we still haven't been able to find should I say, a balanced argument between water being a social good and water being an economic good. So when it comes to investing in the water and sanitation sector, it's quite difficult, because people don't really see the profit. And private entities, or let me say private businesses, would want to invest for profit. And if they are not getting the profit, then they are not going to do that. So I think all of us have a role to play, and that could be one of the opportunities where we need to find a financing model or a financing mechanism that is sustainable, that also deals with the water being a social good, water being an economic good debate very well, so that the sector can be attractive for people to invest in. Then the third one, it introduces advanced water safety plans and emphasizes continuous water quality management. You know, we have water quality issues at hand because of the pollution that is going on now. So it's not surprising that the policy put forward water safety and then water quality monitoring as one of its core areas to look at. Let's look at the policy implementation arrangement. So in the 2007 policy, it outlined the roles and the responsibilities of the various institutions involved in water management. It emphasized a sector-wide approach to ensuring coordination among stakeholders, and then relied heavily on external funding and donor support for implementation. But with the 2024 policy, we are looking at a more detailed framework for institutional roles, including the specific responsibilities for monitoring and evaluation, which was missing in the 2007 policy. Then it also advocates for a collaborative approach involving multiple stakeholders, including private sector and non-governmental organizations. Then it focuses on building local capacity to ensure sustainability and resilience. So you compare it to the old policy, and you are looking at it from the point that the old policy relying on external funding and donor support for the implementation, and this current policy looking at building local capacity to be able to implement the strategies, and then to assure sustainability and resilience, because you can't be sure of external funding or donor support. But if you're able to build a local capacity, then you are sure that you can implement all these strategies in a sustainable manner. Is there any questions at this point?
Jacob, I think you can go ahead.
Okay, great. So, what are the key challenges? I think the first one is climate change and variability. The policy emphasizes the increasing unpredictable nature of water availability due to climate change, which poses a significant challenge for water resource management. We all, in one way or the other, have experienced how the climate is changing, how it's affecting our water resources, and even the danger that it poses to us in terms of flooding. When you go to some of the areas in Ghana, you realize that the rains are not coming as it used to. So there are threats of drought. And also these go a long way to affect our agriculture activities. So that is one key challenge that we find there. The other is water quality issues. We are constantly talking about water pollution from industrial activities, from agricultural activities, and then especially from the mining sector. And this affects both the availability of safe drinking water and also the overall health of the ecosystem, including the human beings, the animals, fishes, and all that. So that is a very big, water quality is a very big challenge when it comes to, let me say, the lifespan of this policy. So that could be one area that we pay critical attention to. The other is infrastructure gaps. So existing water infrastructure is aging, and we are not able to meet the demand that is on our water supply system now. And we are not building new ones at a faster rate. Why? Because we are not making enough revenue from what we have now, and the investments are not coming in, especially the ones towards infrastructure. So that could be a big challenge moving forward, how we bridge that infrastructure gap and make sure that there are a lot of systems that are built to ensure people have access to these water and sanitation services. The fourth one is sustainable financing. I had mentioned a little bit about it when talking about the differences and implementing the strategy. The policy notes the difficulties in mobilizing both public and private resources for long-term water infrastructure investment. As I mentioned earlier on, investing in the water and sanitation sector is not really attractive to especially the private investors. So there is that gap that we have in financing that we need to find a way to bridge. The last one that I'll talk about is institutional weaknesses. The effective part of the water governance it's not really clear because there are a lot of overlapping roles between different entities, different stakeholders. The lack of coordination among the institutions because we are still in a bigger way working within silos. So one entity is doing another thing, another entity is repeating the same thing or doing a very different thing, which does not bring all our efforts together to be able to tackle the challenges that we find. And that could be challenging. And then we also have insufficient capacity at the various levels of government. We have the human resource, but our inability to be able to absorb the human resource, or let me say the people that graduate from our universities to be able to work in the sector is a challenge, which also contributes to the weakness of the institution, because if you don't have quality human resource working in these institutions, then it becomes difficult for us to be able to ensure that the various institutions are actually carrying out the roles that they need to do. Now let's move on to look at the key opportunities that exist and that we can all take advantage of that. The first one is technological advancements. I think moving forward, we all agree that we cannot do things that the way in which we used to do it. We need to move away from the manual way of doing things to a more smart way, a more technological way. You can take the Ghana Water Limited as an example. when they moved from the manual way of billing, the manual way of collecting revenue, to the digital platforms, to the electronic billing, they were able to increase their revenue, I think in 2015, by almost 15 million Ghana cedis. So there is the need to move away from our usual human-centered way of approaching how we carry out our duties and all that, to a more technological and a more smart way, which ensures that the human weaknesses are taken away, and then we are able to carry out those duties more efficiently. So in this case, that means we should start thinking about the processes, the activities that are carried out within the water and sanitation sector in the country. Which ones can we digitalize? Which one can we improve on with the technologies that are being produced? And in these cases, we should also be looking at technologies that can be homegrown. Instead of adopting technologies from the West, we need to look at the ones that we can develop here, because while doing that, that means we'll be cutting down on costs. It will be easy for us to adapt those technologies to our local challenges than the ones that we adopt from elsewhere. Then we're looking at public-private partnerships again. We can still leverage that to bring in the much needed capital and expertise for the water infrastructure projects. So even if we can't get the money from the public-private partnerships, we can get the human resource that can help us to build our local capacity to be able to carry out those responsibilities that we need to do. The third one is capacity building and then professionalization. So we need to invest more in the professionalization of water management, including the training and capacity building programs. So developing programs that target the human resource within the water and sanitation sector, how they can be trained to understand the new technologies that are coming up, how they can be trained to be able to manage these community based water and sanitation systems. Those are very good opportunities that we can capitalize on and then take forward. The fourth one would be international corporations and best practices. There are a lot of international standards. I think currently Ghana Water is using the ISO. I've forgotten which one of them, but they are trying to adopt all those international standards and run with it. And that is something that all the other agencies within the water and sanitation sector should be doing, so that we are bringing our activities or duties within the water and sanitation sector to the international level or to the international standard. Then so making sure that our activities or the things that we do are aligned with the international standards means that we'll be able to bring in a lot more finances from these international agencies to help us achieve our goals. Then the fifth one is climate adaptation strategies, because the policy focuses on climate resilient practices, making sure that we are putting in place strategies and systems that positions us in a better place when it comes to climate change and its negative impact. So we need to start thinking about ways to maybe build our water and sanitation infrastructure so that it is more climate resilient, ways to carry out activities or projects within the water and sanitation sector so that it is environmentally friendly, it is more sustainable. Our ability to be able to come up with these innovations and these ideas, I think presents us a lot of opportunities. And this can position us in a better place, especially within the West Africa sub-region, so that the other countries can also learn from us. And, if you are able to do this work to help us to mitigate the impact of climate change on our water resources. So yeah, so I will end it here so that we can take questions, we can take suggestions so that we all discuss and then come up with the path forward, the way forward in implementing this policy moving forward. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jacob. Thank you for the insightful presentation. Since you opened the floor to engage in a Q&A session, I would kindly ask my colleagues or audience to feel free and ask questions. You can use the chat function or raise your hand and it will be addressed accordingly. But before my colleagues gather their thoughts, I would like to ask, seek your opinion on how rural communities, right, can be better integrated into the national water and sanitation policies. I mean, looking at some of the challenges we have with galamsey and all that, these rural communities are affected. They are more affected than those in the cities or whatsoever. Yeah. So how can they be better integrated into these national water and sanitation policies? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. In my opinion, well, I think it's much more easy to provide these rural communities with water and sanitation services than even the urban areas. But I think the reason why it's slow and we are not doing is that we started with something already, which has turned out to be a challenge, which is becoming difficult to deal with, especially when it comes to the community managed model that was implemented previously. Because the communities were handed over the system and then they managed it themselves, and then they had a revenue coming to them. And with the recent development with Community Water and Sanitation Agency trying to take over those systems, then the community members will not be happy about it. So that is one challenge that is making it difficult for these systems to be improved. The other thing is that investing in the rural areas is not really attractive because the local economy is not that strong. It's difficult to get a return on investment when you build a water system in a local community, and most of them are also far apart. So that means you need to be building water systems or sanitation system in each and every community. You can't adopt the centralized model that is in the urban area where you have one huge water treatment plant supplying water to about hundreds of thousands of people. You can't do that in the rural setting because the communities are far apart. You need a lot of energy to be able to do that. So those are the challenges. But if we sit down and then we look at the decentralized water systems that we have, and how to actually adapt it to the different communities that we have. Yeah, it will take a lot of effort in the beginning and a lot of thinking about how to go about this. But once we develop a framework or a model that we can implement in these communities, I'm sure we will be able to do it at a faster rate. It's just that once they are not mostly in sight, it's easier to forget that that problem actually exists. So that is what I would say about that.
Thank you, Jacob. We have a few questions. So I'll go ahead with Daniel Johnson. Thank you for the insightful presentation. Okay, so the first question is, what strategies are being used to reduce water wastage and repair times in Ghana's water sector? And the second one is, you spoke about homegrown technologies. I want to find out if there are any homegrown technologies currently being used or under development for the water sector in Ghana. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Water, you asked about water wastage and what is being done about it. I believe this question is more targeted at Ghana Water than anyone else. I think there are a lot of let me say management practices that Ghana Water is putting in place to ensure that the turnaround times when it comes to leakage repairs are actually made as short as possible. There is the Technology and Innovations Department of Ghana Water that have actual focus. They have a non-revenue water unit that actually focuses on reducing these leakage repair times to ensure that the water that goes to waste once they record these leakages are reduced to the barest minimum. So what they are doing is leveraging geographical information systems, trying to digitalize these piping networks so that if these leakages are reported, they can actually locate the locations very quickly. Because once you know where the leakage is, your problem is half solved. You just have to mobilize your resources and then repair those leakages. So those are some of the things that are being done. The other thing is a lot more community education is ongoing to kind of let me say kind of influence people like in the communities to be able to report and follow up on this leakage matter, because you ask people living around these leakages when they happen and they tell you that, oh, even when we report it to Ghana Water, they will not come and fix it in time. But I think that is changing. So you reporting it to us actually does half of the work. That old perception that when you report, they won't come and fix it's changing. So please, I will advocate for all of you. Whenever you see any leakage anywhere, just reach out to Ghana Water and let them know. There is a WhatsApp number. I think I'll share it with you afterwards, that you can use. Once you take a picture, you share the location of the leakage, and they will attend to it in time. So that is one thing. The other thing is educating people more on how they use water, because you realize that people use the pipe water for washing their cars, for watering their lawns, those are not sustainable way of managing our water resources, especially the ones that have been treated with lots of money. Because in the homes, you are billed with a domestic tariff. So if you are using that money to you are using that water to wash your car, to water your lawn, and all those, let me say, industrial stuff that are not strictly domestic, you are actually contributing to water losses at our end, because you are not being charged an industrial or a commercial fee. Yeah, so the way we use water needs to change. How you shower, you don't shower for the whole time. So we need to, as a person, because water affects us. It's a life thing, and you can't be doing something in the secrecy of your bathroom or your home and then expect that the government or Ghana Water should do something to deal with water wastage. It's a call for all of us. So wherever we find ourselves, let's ensure that water is being used properly. Yeah. Then there was
Thank you, Jacob.
a second part of the question that talked about homegrown technologies, right? Yeah. So, for
Yes.
instance, in Ghana Water, there are certain new meters that are coming up that are smart meters that helps us to know where helps us to be able to shut the customer off when the customer is owing. That helps us to know when somebody is tampering with the meter and stealing our water. And these meters are actually being developed by Ghanaians. And that is one of the homegrown technologies that Ghana Water is proud of. Because once that is done, that means you're not going to depend on these international organizations for their meters. And then what is also being done is to leverage that smart meter that is being built to have an electronic billing system. So that like the billing system comes with the meter, so that they are not different apart. That will also ensure efficiency in how we manage our communication with our consumers. Yeah. So those are some of the homegrown technologies that are being done in Ghana Water. For the other ones, I'm not so sure. So I wouldn't go to other institutions because I'm not really up to speed about what is happening in those institutions. Yeah.
Thank you, Jacob. We have a hand raised by Richard. So Richard, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, good morning to you all.
Good
Jacob,
morning.
very good presentation. I want to ask how available is this national water policy? How can one access it?
Okay, thank you very much, Richard. The national water policy has been shared broadly. It's available online. You can have access to it. I'm sure Jacqueline will share with you if you don't have yet. So it's not a hidden document. It's available for everyone to have access to. You can even Google it and have access to it. The National Water Policy 2024. So I would say it's readily available for everyone. Yeah.
Thank you, Jacob. And we have a question from Beryl. Thank you for the presentation. My question is, how can Ghana strike a balance between urban water demand and rural water access, considering the resource depletion, pollution, and infrastructure limitations?
Very good question. Striking a balance between the urban demand and then the rural. access. It's tricky. It's tricky because we have two separate agencies responsible for urban water supply and rural water supply. So you can't really put them on the same scale because they are working at a different rate. They are working with different regulations, because it's only recently that they are trying to turn community water and sanitation agency into a water utility to actually focus on water supply in the rural areas. So Ghana Water has been around for quite a long time, and they are doing very well, actually. So you can't strike a balance, let me put it that way, but it will be more of how do we ensure that the support, the resources that are needed for the rural part is actually there to support them to build those systems and then increase on supply. That is one thing. And also our water resources. I think it's lack of political will to be able to conserve our water resources. That is our main challenge. Once we are not able to do that, it becomes difficult to do anything, because one, we lack resources, we lack the financial strength to be able to quickly accelerate access to all these people. And again, we are polluting our water resources, which means that we demand more money to treat water to supply people. So it's political will that is not there. And again, it's people not understanding that you polluting the water at one end and then expecting clean water at the other end, it doesn't really work that way. So if you pollute it, the probability of you getting polluted water at the other end is very high, because one, our systems are not robust to deal with these kinds of pollutions that are going on. So it's, I would say it's a whole 360 thing. One, I don't want to mention the government's name because if you mention them, there's no way they are going to do it anyway. Well, that is my opinion. Yeah, there's no way they are going to tackle these challenges head on. They'll play politics with it, and so we, the people, or we, the ones that consume or rely on these resources the most, are the ones that need to wise up and then make sure that we are conducting ourselves in a way that we don't pollute our water resources. But that one too is being difficult. I think we are placing the money ahead of our own health. And that is a challenge for all of us. So maybe we need more education from the civil society organizations and then the National Commission for Civic Education. We need to see more of their activities within the water and sanitation sector.
Thank you, Jacob. We have another question from Michael Aqua, and it says, great presentation. And while the policy mentions the importance of inclusive access, there is limited focus on the specific needs of marginalized groups, such as persons with disabilities. These groups often face additional barriers in accessing water and sanitation services, which the policy does not fully address. In your opinion, what do you think can be done to address this problem? Thank you.
Okay, so that could be one of the gaps that the policy does not really highlight. So that actually presents us with an opportunity to come up with maybe a strategy for reaching out to these marginalized groups, making sure they also have access. It's, opportunities comes when you are able to identify a gap and then try to bridge it. So I would say this is an opportunity. It depends on institutions like Constromart, the NGOs to be able to come up with some kind of a strategy to be able to have an equitable supply of water and sanitation services to people who are marginalized. So I would say this is one opportunity that we can explore.
Thank you, Jacob. We have another from God's Love, Adam Duncan. He says, good morning, Jacob, and thank you for the presentation. What roles do consulting field have to play in the successful execution of the policy, and what opportunities would you say are available to explore?
Yeah, so I think you've spoken extensively about opportunities that are available. I would say for consulting firms, the role that you can play is to, you need to look at what is happening now, what have happened in the past that did not work, the conditions that are existing now, and what is being done in other places that are successful, and how we can adapt it to the conditions that are existing in Ghana now. So your ability to be able to look at all these things and advise the government, advise those that are implementing these projects, advise organizations like Ghana Water, Community Water, that would be very, very, very important and crucial moving forward. So those are things that you can explore. And I know in our system, it works in a different way, where you need to bid for things as a consulting organization and all that. So that means having friendly relations with these organizations that implement these projects, and that I would say will be the implementing arm of this policy is also very important, so that you can contribute this knowledge, you can bring this advice on board, especially the one on the marginalized groups and all that. That is very key. So you should have an overall understanding on what is happening within the water and sanitation landscape globally, in Africa, in the sub-region, and how these implementing organizations can leverage some of this knowledge to make sure that they build resilient and sustainable systems. So I think that is the role that consulting organizations can play, and that is a huge opportunity too. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jacob. Okay, so there are no further questions. Checking the chat box. So I guess we can bring the session to a close. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We extend our, okay, we do have a hand. Okay. Then I guess it was a mistake. Yeah, so we extend our deepest thanks to Mr. Jacob Kwasi Amengor for sharing his invaluable expertise, and to all of you for your active participation. We look forward to having you join us for our next session, scheduled for the 26th of August, Monday, where we'll delve into a relevant and insightful topic. So thank you all once again for being with us today, and have a wonderful week ahead. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.